everyone. I am especially excited to be sitting here today having the opportunity to talk to Nici from Hive Surrogacy. Welcome, Nici. Tell us about your professional role.
Sure. So I am the co-owner of Hive Surrogacy, the other person being my partner, Angie Proom. And we're both experienced surrogates and birth workers. And basically, as the simplified version is that I'm the project manager of people's surrogacy journey. So, I'm there from the very, very beginning until 6 weeks postpartum. And that involves like education, emotional support, also like keeping people organized, knowing what needs to happen next, and then any kind of like accounting and all that kind of stuff. So we're a one-stop shop for surrogacy needs.
Wow, fantastic. Can you tell us, although I'm sure some people have an idea, but can you tell us how the work that you do specifically helps members of the 2S LGBTQIA plus community start or grow their families?
Absolutely. So, I would say that about 80% of our clients are same-sex couples, and that are able to have babies through the help of a surrogate and an egg donor. And so, yeah, we support many same-sex couple families. I personally carried for a same-sex couple, as did Angie. So we're very passionate about this. We're also queer ourselves, and so we're proud queer business owners, and we feel like we're changing what family structures kind of look like across the world because we work with people internationally. And that is very special because in many countries in the world, surrogacy is illegal. And so we are helping same-sex couples all over the world.
It's so true. It's in the parenting side of the show that you are a part of here. There is a conversation that I have with a pair of people who identify as men who live in France, and they can't get a surrogate in France. So the work that
Very
you do,
legal, very.
right? It
Yes.
is, and we tend to think of Europe as being more forward thinking, but in many respects, in terms of same-sex relationships and the 2S LGBTQIA plus community, they're still steps behind us, even though we feel like we still have a long way to go here. So
Absolutely.
the
I think in France, even it was under 10 years ago that they even legalized same-sex marriage. So they're definitely catching up.
Yeah, yeah, thankfully,
Yeah.
they just need to keep moving forward, keep
Keep
moving
it, keep
forward.
on moving. Yeah.
That's right. That's right. Are there things that you might look for working in the capacity that you do that your other cisgendered heterosexual peers may not necessarily look for?
Um, Not necessarily. I think that like in the kind of work that I do, the different families are coming from very different perspectives, right? So heteronormative families are coming from a place of failure, right? They're coming from a place of fertility issues and lots of trying and many, many years of trying to build their family. Where when I work with either like single people or hetero, like same-sex couples, um, it's it's a very exciting thing that this is
Mhm.
able to happen. And so it's a bit of a different world. They're very, very different journeys. um yeah, so it's kind of they're just to each their own, like every journey is individual and whatever, but those are the main differences that I see between those kind of two um different family structures.
Are there any pearls of wisdom that you have learned over the years that make you especially lucky, or the people you work with especially lucky to work with you in the capacity that you do?
I think just having experienced this myself, I think that I can kind of see both sides of it. I would say that we started this company because, we love our intended parents so deeply, and we know what it's like on their side of things as well as on the surrogate side of things. I've also given birth to two of my own children, and am a birth worker. That's how I got it started in this work. And so I think there's just like a little bit extra like support in that way and understanding. I've also with my surrogate baby, I ended up having a C-section. It was my first C-section. In my second surrogacy journey, I actually had a late-term miscarriage. And so I feel like I've experienced a lot of different kinds of scenarios personally, that can kind of give me a perspective into how to support people. But
Mhm.
also, I've been doing this for 8 years, and I've seen, if you can imagine, hundreds of families who have been in all different places in the world and all different scenarios. And so it's very rare when I see a situation that I haven't dealt with before. And so Angie has been in this business for 11 years. And so I think together we're a pretty strong force, with lots of knowledge and education between us.
That's fantastic. And the people you work with are so lucky as a result of all that experience for
We
sure.
feel lucky too, like
Oh,
we feel
sure.
lucky when people trust us with this very delicate process. So like we're very thankful for the families that come to us as well.
I'm sure. I'm sure. You've been there, you've done that. Have there been times in your personal or professional life where you've been made to feel like you were the other?
Yeah, for sure. Being a queer person myself, like I think that, especially when it comes to like talking about childbirth, that it's very heteronormative. It's not very inclusive of different kind of family structures. And so I think just in general, like we feel like the other, but like in a great way. Like we're the other people doing the other thing that is um, making everybody kind of on the same level. It's really special that we're in a time where people can have babies of their own genetics if that's what they are really hoping for in their life. And so I think that one of the things that made us do some changes was that Andy and I have actually traveled around the world, and we have given parenting classes, specifically to people who are going through surrogacy journeys. Because if you can imagine, there isn't a lot of great information out there until sort of the past 20 years about women's health, because people didn't really make it a priority. And therefore, many men who are in this situation don't actually know how the female reproductive system works sometimes. So we've really catered our parenting classes and stuff like that to help people understand even the process of birth, how they can fit in as same as intended parents, how they can support during the birth and stuff like that too, so that they can feel really included, and not feel like the other, that there is a place for them, and that there is information that is specifically for people going through a journey like this.
That's amazing. Oh, I feel like I could talk to you for hours about all of the
I feel like I
experience
could talk about
and
it for
wisdom that
hours.
you
I love my work. I'm very passionate about this, and yeah.
and it shows, and that's your families are lucky, as I know you feel lucky as well to do the work that you do. You have been there yourself, you've had children yourself, and you've worked with families for years. This is the first show of its kind to ever happen, and I think that it's hard to believe that I'm saying those words out loud in 2022, that there's never been a show specifically created for the 2S LGBTQIA+ community, but it's a reality. And if there was a show like this at the time you were having your own children and growing your own family, do you feel like it would have been beneficial? And if so, what kinds of things would you have wanted to see included so that you felt like you got the kind of information from the show that you were looking for?
I mean, I think it would have been incredible, you know. I think that I remember even when they first did like a gay wedding show, and I was like, yes, like this
Right.
is like, come on now, like why is this taking so long? And I mean, I really commend you for doing this because it is
Thank you.
super important. There's only one other show that I've even sort of heard about that is similar to this, called Men Having Babies, but obviously that's directed towards people who are male identifying. So I think that this is a wonderful thing. And I think the thing that, people want to see and what I would want to see is just inclusion, right? Like the fact that the literature and stuff out there is inclusive and uses inclusive language, and that you're not in a place where you sort of feel out of place because everyone's talking about having to have a mom and dad and all these
Right.
things. So I think that that in itself is incredibly important and also brings together community. I'm sure people will meet there. So I think maybe a place where there's an opportunity for parents who to meet other parents,
Mhm.
create that community, and have people who have your back, who understand what you're going through for sure. And I can say on our end of things, we have like a surrogate support group, and not many people in Canada are surrogates. So to have
Yeah.
other people who understand what you're going through,
Yeah.
um, is very important. We've even had like some people who, as an example, like one of them was a teacher at a Catholic school and she was caring for a same-sex couple. And so we had
Wow.
a lot of discussions in our group around how to talk about that and things like that. And so, yes, I think that just the sense of community and having a
Mhm.
space where you can connect with other people going through the same thing as you is so, so helpful.
Oh, good. Thank you. Yeah, and I'm hoping that I'm ticking all of those boxes through this, and it'll grow and become better and more robust next year. Is there
No doubt.
anything that we haven't covered yet that you were just hoping you'd have the opportunity to tell us all about today?
I think I really want people to understand like how hard it is for same-sex couples, specifically men, to have children.
Mhm.
A lot of people automatically go to the like, why don't you just adopt?
Mhm.
And I think many people who are going to come to your show have been through the adoption process, and it is not just doing anything.
Right.
There's a lot of waiting, there's a lot of heartbreak, there's a lot of it's a journey, right? It's a journey in
Uh,
itself. And so while I think adoption is the most amazing thing, when people come into a surrogacy kind of community and say, why don't you just adopt? There's so many children that need homes. And yes, 100%.
right.
But I think kind of coming at it from an angle of like equality, and saying, why is it okay for heterosexual couples to have, why don't people tell them to just adopt when they say
Uh,
they're trying to get pregnant, right? And so to understand that it's a very hard process, just like surrogacy, and it's a choice, and it's a choice of equality. And so to be mindful of that and to be kind.
Absolutely. How do people find out about you and how to get in touch with you and your organization?
So we have a website, it's hivesurrogacy.com. We also have platforms on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. We make ridiculous TikTok videos. That's what all the kids are looking at these days.
Right.
So we're all over the internet if you look up Hive Surrogacy, and mine and Angie's emails are nikki@hivesurrogacy.com and Angie@hivesurrogacy.com.
Love it. I want to thank you so very much for taking the time to speak with me today and sharing your wisdom for everyone to learn from. It's been wonderful. Thank you.
My absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.